Welcome to Gospel Updates. I'm here with Pastor Steve Munsey. Let me just say, I have watched you on Christian television over the years, and I am honored to meet you in
thank you.
person.
Thank you very
We're
much.
here at the church for Jesus of Nazareth. And let me tell you something. This was like one of the best productions that I've seen in my lifetime.
Thank you.
Just amazing. You know what? I really want to know, what was your vision for writing the production, and then what do you hope people that come now after 50 years and see it get from this production?
Well, for your audience, to give them a small paragraph, what he saw tonight was nearly 200 feet of three-story sets. Jesus flew over the audience, which was 190 feet of flying. What he saw tonight was 9 white horses, a chariot, camels, donkeys, and he saw almost 680 actors on stage with over 1,000 behind the scenes and on stage. So when he says it was a great production, that's a real compliment. Now, to answer your question, I think the first part of it was, why did I write it, or
The vision for
the vision of it?
Yeah.
Well, I was raised in a preacher's home,
Okay.
and I never had a television. I was brought up in a holiness, and I don't know if the audience knows that, but a real strict environment. So I never went to a movie. I never went.
Wow.
I didn't have a television until I was 35, and never went to a dance. Never went to a sporting event. All I went is to church, and I began to dislike it. And when the Lord began to deal with me, he said, "I'm going to call you into ministry." I said, "Well, if you do, I'm going to make it interesting." So I was traveling, speaking at 19 years of age at churches, and one church in Mississippi, Jackson, asked me, "Let's do something for Easter." And I said, "We could do it." I talked a lot about we could do this, that. So we built sets, we built costumes, and it was my first performance of what you saw tonight. Now, of course, it wasn't anything like it was tonight. That was 50 years ago. And other churches, until I went to 22 cities, trained 22 casts, made 22 sets of costumes, 22 sets, changed the church, with all of that, training the people. And then I built, my goal was to build an outdoor amphitheater, and did that for 25 years in Puyallup, Washington, on 40 acres. And that set was bigger than a football field. Wow. And it was the 6th major passion play in the United States. I'm getting to your questions. I don't mean to bore your audience, but the key is that I had a desire that church would not be boring. I don't know if that's wrong or right, but to me, it was right about, how can I get the young people? How can I get the kids? How can I do an illustrated sermon? How can I do something that will teach them about the Bible? And that was my goal. And so if you come to Family Christian Center, the church here, you will see out of the 52 Sundays, probably 25 to 30 Sundays, I'll do an illustrated sermon. So may I tell you what I did last week? I had a boat on stage. I was in the boat, and in front of my LED screen, I did a storm.
Oh, wow.
And I was in the storm, and I talked about Jesus said, "Get in the boat, go to the other side," and I was illustrating.
Huh.
Well, everybody seems to egg me on, if I can use that terminology, and says, "Please do some more, because my child learns, I learn, everybody learns." Mm-hmm. So I'm an illustrator.
So would you say you're like Jesus? Because Jesus was one of the greatest storytellers.
Boy, that's a compliment. Mm-hmm. That's a real compliment. And I think you're right, because all of the Gospels, that's what he did. He tells stories. Had to, because all of the thousands of people would be bored, I think, if he would just go into Revelation and Mount Transfiguration. He only took 3 people there. He didn't take the crowd with him at Mount Transfiguration. But the key is that the people that are getting saved, and at the same time, all of the people that are acting, young and old, are learning about Christ. So my vision, and has been, is to change the youth, the children, because I'm a fanatic. The children have to be in it. And I do not treat them like children. I treat them like professional actors.
Now you say I was listening to you talk earlier, and you served as the director for this play.
Yes, I'm the director.
And
Uh,
you said that you treat them like they're real actors. I know you mentioned even Denzel, and just telling them if you want to take this seriously, if you want to be like
yeah,
Denzel,
yeah.
you have to do this. So if I was well, let me just say this. Let me back up. I saw members of the cast before the production, and their eyes was like, I cannot wait for you to see this. Everyone that I met, like, you're going to
Really?
have an amazing time. Oh yeah, it was the contagious
I'm
enthusiasm.
going to tell them you said that.
Yeah,
That's great.
that made me want to hurry up and get in there to see it, and it was well worth the wait. It was amazing.
Yeah, my vision continually, I'll tell you a little secret, tell the audience if they won't tell anybody. I do believe the Family Christian Center and the location here in Munster, Indiana. Munster means, the name means church on the hill. So we're on the line here, on the Illinois line. We are building on, adding 1,000 seats, and we're putting a new front on in the side. But this is what I believe. The set that you saw tonight will become like Notre Dame, and people from all over the world in 50 years from now, when I'm gone to heaven, will treat this like a piece of art. And they will talk and say, you got to go see this piece of art on stage. And I am creating, in the next few years, I'm expanding the stage to go backwards so that it is tourist friendly, because I know that people are going to come from all over the world and go to Calvary, go to the tomb. So I am creating here what I believe. I've got box seats going in. You'd have to see our plans. It's going to be really cool. That this will become a treasure for America. Just like when we go to Paris, or if you've ever been to Paris, I've been to Paris, I go to Notre Dame. But when I went there, I didn't go to see the pews. I went to see the art and what they did, etc. Well, just kind of put yourself in the position of 50 years from now, if the Lord tarries, people are going to treat this like art.
I asked that question. I at first I thought that you all did that to the stage specifically for this production, but then I was corrected and said that
It's permanent.
It's permanent. I was like, wow.
That's true. It's permanent. And then when we do our other shows, like the Christmas shows, I have a big Christmas show, Scrooge, I wrote, and I completely cover that with London. So it's covered like London. Horses, magic bed flies, and all of that. And then I do something, I didn't do it last year, but we're doing it this year, called Heartbreak Hotel. And that's a Las Vegas show.
Wow.
It's Heartbreak Hotel and Hotel Hallelujah. Which one do you live in? So I never put anybody in hell, but I have Michael Jackson, I have Beyonce, I have all the lookalikes, all styles of music that reaches all kinds of people. And at the end, you know, I bring Michael out in an ambulance. I bring Whitney Houston out in the bathtub. I bring Prince. I have an elevator. He comes down and we open the doors and there's Prince. He's dead because he died in the elevator. I don't condemn them and I don't put them in hell. I just tell people they must have checked in to the wrong hotel.
Wow.
Heartbreak Hotel. And so if you came, you'd see these huge sets. So it is permanent. Jesus of Nazareth is our signature. And our animals, we own all of our animals. We train all of our animals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. And we are building an equestrian center 1 mile from here. It's going to be 90 stalls, 1 acre under one roof. But we're really building it to help underprivileged children, people who have mental disorders. They call it behaviors, I guess. You got to watch what you say. But people who are struggling with depression. We're building it for veterans, but it trains our animals. And because they go on stage, you just can't bring any kind of animals like you saw tonight. So all the animals you saw on stage, they're used to the lights, they're used to all of that. So we are developing a community of people who are lifting up Jesus through theatrics, through stage, and through performing arts.
Amazing.
Hey, listen to this. I don't mean to bore the audience, but we have 5,000 costumes, and we made those costumes. So put value on that. And to get your costume to be an actor here, you have to give your license to get your costume because everything is numbered. because they're taken to the cleaners on Monday morning. I mean, everything is so professional. We have worked on it. We're just not put on a robe, go out on the stage, throw it off in a corner. It's really done professionally, and it brings discipline, and it brings great culture. And the greatest thing I like about it is I've got blacks, whites, Hispanic, Asian on the stage.
I noticed that.
And they don't even know. They don't even know who they are when they're on stage, because they're 2,000 years ago the character that was in the story of Jesus. And that is what is so beautiful.
You got to come see it. Jesus of Nazareth. Tell us the church. Oh, and we came on night 1. So if you're watching this is going to be night 1. But there's several different nights. Tell us about that.
All of the month of March on the weekends. And you can call Refuge Productions, and I'm looking for some information, but you can call Family Christian Center, and you can get tickets. I'm sorry, I'm not social media wise here, but you can get tickets by going to Jesus of Nazareth, Munster, and
Or Refuge Productions?
yeah, refugeproductions.com. There you go, refugeproduction.com. But if you look up Steve Munsey or Family Christian, it'll get you to that.
Gotcha.
Point.
Now, I'm just curious, what advice do you have for other pastors, especially young pastors that are coming up, to include theater in their ministries, to kind of get the community involved, even their church members involved?
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of what you just said, and I do that with pastors. I constantly provoke them. You need to get your people involved. If people are not involved, I'll give you a statistic. I wish it was original, but it was. And Bill taught me this. Bill Hybels, many years ago. Bill said a statement to me, and this will change any minister, anybody in the ministry. Bill said, the number of volunteers in your church equal units of giving or per person giving. So like if you have someone giving their tithes, so to speak, that would be considered a unit, okay? Mm-hmm. He said, if you'll count up all of your volunteers, I'm giving something to your, every minister right now has got a church. If they'll count up all the volunteers, the choir, their usher, the lawnmower person, the window work, I don't care what they are, count them up. Then count all the envelopes you get on Sunday, or if it's pay, by electronic. It will equal the same amount
Of the volunteers.
And let me give you an example. I argued with Bill Hybels because he built one of the greatest churches in the world. He's retired now, but anyway, he built one of the greatest churches in the world. And when he said that, I said, but you're from a rich church. I mean, he was from Willow Creek and a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And we argued. And I came back and I said, add up everybody that's involved in our plays, ushers, choir, music, whatever, volunteer. Mm-hmm. It was and that time it was about 1,710 people. And then so I went to the financial department and said, now how many givers do we have? They said 1,700.
Wow.
If the person is not involved, they're not giving.
Wow.
I'm going to tell you that's, when he told me that, I disagreed. I said, no, Bill, no. And then I went and I proved him right and me wrong. And that's when I began to work on volunteers. And now we have over 4,000 volunteers, and it equals the giving.
So your treasure follows your heart. Whatever you put your heart into,
that's
your treasure will follow.
If the person is not involved, they're not giving. They're just coming and watching. Get them involved. Get a window ministry, washing windows. Whatever you can think about. In our case here, we have probably over 2,000 people involved in performing arts. So it's easy to get people in. Not everybody can be in the choir because they're not all good singers. And, well, that's another story I'd like to go down with you sometime, because I was talking to Congressman Jonathan Jackson, and he said, you know why we don't have any choirs in our church? It kind of stunned me. I said, well, why? He said, because when you go to public school, the music department's all boarded up.
Yeah, that's true.
This generation don't know what a tenor is, don't know what an alto is, and don't know what a bass is. They have no idea. And if you remember, am I boring you? Am I boring the audience?
No. Audience, or we wouldn't.
Many years ago, all of the churches, didn't matter what color the church was, had bus ministry and would go and pick up the kids. But the laws got strict. And it got too expensive for a church to do, including me. You had to have seat belts. You had to have special people to drive. The insurance was out the wazoo. We had to sell the buses. Now think about it. In the last 20 years, 25 years, nobody's went in to pick up kids. And they've all turned to drugs, guns. There was a time that all the churches were working with the poor and bringing them in. Yeah. So I think what we're doing, what you saw tonight, that's what I'm trying to do. Is I am reaching out and putting kids, teenagers, moms, dads, whoever, on stage and getting them involved. I'm sorry it took so long. I hope you weren't bored.
No, that's good. Tell them how to invite you to come into your church on a Sunday, even if they're not coming to the play.
Yeah, if you'd like to come, you can see us by streaming. But if you got a church, please stay and go to that church, because I'm not a fan of other church people coming to my church. I love you. I think it's great. You can come visit us. But I'm really interested in the person who's not saved, because I want to get them saved. But if you'd like to come, we're going to our third service, Easter, and I'm going back to 3 services. I cut it down to 2, and then a Wednesday night. By the way, we have the largest Wednesday night crowd, they tell me, in the Midwest.
Oh, wow.
This place is almost full on Wednesday nights. Very strong Wednesday night. So Wednesday night you can come, or Sunday mornings. There's several services. I know there's one at 8:30, one at 10:30, and there's one that can be at 12:30. So come. The services are 90 minutes. By the way, we start on time and we finish.
Services are 90 minutes?
Yeah, 90 minutes.
I'm sold.
And I preach probably, I like to preach longer, but I can't. But I preach about 40 minutes, or illustration or whatever. Our music is, our music, that's another revelation, because when you put white people and black people and Hispanic people and Asian people, if you're not careful, you sing only one style.
Oh, man, that's true.
And you leave the others out. So you got to mix all that up and take everybody with you. So we are not a church in which we'll impress you with music, because you would say, well, I like that style of music, and you probably go to that kind of church. So we take everybody with us. So it's more of a challenge in developing worship for everybody to worship, and taking everybody into the presence of God. So, yeah, they're 90 minutes. And be here on time, because we start on time.
Now, I know Jesus of Nazareth is running through the month of March here in your town. But if a production or a promoter or whatever want to bring it to their city, are you open to that?
Yes.
Yet, or? Oh, wow.
Yeah, several cities are doing it, and I'm very open, and they can do it, and I will help them.
Okay.
And I will help them in any way. Small church, big church. I can double a church. I don't care what size the church is. For instance, there's a church in Michigan that's working with me right now. They're no more than 100 people. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing a production in their church with 12 people, and I'm kind of helping them. And already they're starting to double. Wow. So I love that. And so they can contact us, and we would be glad to help them.
All right. Random question for you, Pastor. What's your favorite scripture that gives you inspiration when you are having a not so great day? We'll just go with that.
Every Monday, you mean?
Everyone. So what scripture do you decree and declare over your own life?
Somebody said, well, why'd you say that? Well, you get through the weekend and you get, you're fighting devils and spirits. But I would lean very strongly. There's many. But I would lean very strongly on Romans 28, where it says, 8:28, we know that all things
and we know
work out for the good, and the revelation there is to them that love God. So if you love God, you're destined to work it all out. My second scripture basis, and I would go back and forth on that, is Galatians 6, where be not weary in well-doing, for in due season, if you faint not, you shall reap. And the revelation of that is, if you don't feel like fainting and you don't feel weariness, you're not going to get any blessing. That's a sign. Weariness and almost giving up is a sign you're about to reap. Mm-mm. Remember, God doesn't go first. He always says to the devil, you go first. You go first, I'll go second. So the enemy comes in like a flood. God raises up a standard.
Yeah.
Weeping endures for the night, but joy comes in the morning.
That's good.
So I want to encourage your viewers and you, and thank you for being so nice. And God is a good God. And I'm going to tell you something. The best is yet to come. They could talk about all the wars. They could talk about all the trouble. They could talk about all the stuff. They could talk about all the political stuff. But let me tell you, the kingdom, the best is yet to come. We are fixing to have the biggest move of God in the world. Because we're not limping out of here, sneaking out of here. We're going to shine out of here. And we're just letting the devil and Johnny Ringo have his time. But Wyatt Earp's coming to town. And I'm telling you, God is getting ready to do something big. Because where there is sin, there is much more grace. So when somebody tells me, I get upset, very upset. I get in arguments. I mean, I get in heated arguments. The preachers, anybody. Oh, Chicago. Oh, you got a bunch of murders and killers and going on there. I said, well, I'm a little embarrassed. Yes, I am. But I tell you, where there's much sin, there's much more grace. And I said, it's only a signal Chicago's getting ready to have a big revival. So I don't care what they say. I know it's bad, but God is getting ready to usher in a new move of God.
All right. Pastor Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much
Thank
for being
you.
a guest on Gospel Updates. Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.